Being a photographer for almost 40 years, much of what you do is old habits. And so it was kind of fun to do something that was photography, but very different, very, very new. My name's Charles Fox. I'm a staff photographer at the Philadelphia Inquirer. It really all started in 2016. My wife and I were vacationing in Maine. It was one of the first vacations we did without our sons. We have three sons that are all in their 20s now. And I just got the idea to take an action figure along and kind of photograph it to have like these humorous shots to send back to my sons. And that kind of started a practice that my sons and I did where, if we went on a trip, we would have an action figure, and they kind of tended to use, Star Wars figures, stormtroopers and such. And we would just kind of, text these pictures back and forth. So when the pandemic struck, I kind of thought, well, this would be kind of fun because everybody was having to cancel their vacation plans and their travel plans. So I thought, well, what about if we did kind of this idea where, this toy, this action figure would go on trips and adventures that some of which we weren't able to go on at the time. I knew when I kind of started this idea again, I looked at photographs that toy photographers were doing, and I drew a lot of inspiration from that. And I knew as a photographer, I really needed to step up my ball game. Because before, my sons and I were just kind of doing these pictures, very impromptu, without a lot of planning. And I wanted to take it to another level photographically. And I also kind of wanted to express this lifelong love of toys. And I think the desire that we all have as children to kind of bring toys to life. As far as photographing toys, I'm not sure I would recommend it to somebody as a relaxing pastime, because nothing was ever as simple as I thought it would be. First of all, you have to realize, these things are only 6 inches tall. A couple of shots I did in a stream, were probably the most frustrating because, I'd be lying on my belly in cold water, holding my camera with one hand and splashing with the other hand to kind of create some movement. After the fishing picture, I think I walked back to the house and pretty much announced to my family, I'm done with this. This is it. And of course, I took a hot shower and thought, well, I really want to do that Halloween picture. And I bought all the things I need. So, of course, there was more pictures, but, there's a lot of tricks to toy photography that, I had to learn, just like how to make them stand up and stay in place. And you find yourself, talking to the toys and pleading with them, John, just hold this pose so I can get this shot, It was purely by accident. Before we did this trip to Maine in 2016, the car was loaded up. We were getting ready to pull out. And I thought, oh, I should grab an action figure because I had this idea. And I wanted a Spider-Man. And I couldn't find him. And I saw this wrestling figure. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. He's movable. I can pose him in different things, different ways. This will work. I just thought he was like your generic strongman wrestling guy. My wife had to say, that's John Cena. Obviously, I knew he was a wrestler, but, I was kind of surprised that she knew all about him. So it really began by accident. It was supposed to be Spider-Man. I grew to like the figure because I felt he could play different roles. He could be the pugilist. He could be the tough strongman, the outdoorsman. But he could also kind of be like the goofy, silly guy, or serious at times. But, I really didn't know a lot about John Cena. And my wife said, well, you should watch these YouTubes of him on The Tonight Show. And it was kind of funny that like this persona that I created for the action figure, after watching John Cena on The Tonight Show, I was like, wow, it actually kind of fit really well. But it was really by accident. I've been a working photographer for almost 40 years now, and there's never been a year like this. I mean, in the last 6 months alone, we've had probably, more than a decade worth of news. The marches for social justice, the pandemic, the election, the amount of gun violence that Philadelphia has experienced this year. It's really been a year like no other that I've experienced. I mean, it actually kind of influenced this particular project because while it's been a historically significant year and an exciting year, it's been an exhausting year too. And I kind of needed a escape at times. You know, I think we all did, just to kind of clear our minds and catch our breath. Yeah, I think it's always important to find some sort of outlet, you know. And I think, you know, sometimes, you know, in photographing John, the best part of it was like, you know, sitting outside. And because I'm a night owl, so a lot of times I would end up doing these pictures after dark. And, you know, just being outside, um, hearing the wildlife, listening to music was, you know, as much of an escape, you know, as photographing John was. John often was kind of frustrating, to be honest.